Hello guys, welcome back to Pause and welcome back to Planet Coaster. This is Clapboard Studios, our movie studio park, and we are continuing on today with our sci-fi coaster. So before we get into today's video, if this is the kind of stuff you like, so theme park, simulation games, Planet Coaster, please consider subscribing to the channel and don't forget to give this video a big like. We've also got a brand new Discord server that we recently started a couple of weeks ago. So if you'd like to get involved, have a chat, then you can find the link down below in the description. I'd love to see you guys jumping into there so we can have a good chat and have a big community collaboration. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, have a look in the description. So on to today's video. So we are continuing on with our sci-fi roller coaster. Now this coaster is heavily inspired by Space Mountain at Disney, and also taking inspiration from Crusher's coaster at Disneyland Paris. Now merging those two together, we've ended up with a spinning coaster with a slight little outdoor section at the beginning, as you can just see here, and then the inside of it is going to be pretty much a dark coaster. Now what we are doing in today's episode, as you can just see, the first little bit of footage just here, we have put a little bit of theming on the outside of the building, very much sort of higgledy-piggledy kind of sci-fi theming just on the outside. You're not really going to see this building very close up at all. The only time you're really going to see it is when you're in the queue line and just approaching the entrance to the station, because it's set back quite away from the path, so it doesn't need to be too detailed, but we are going to add a bit more to it as we go along. But for now, the outside is pretty much there. We've just added a little bit of work here on the rocks, again to give it a kind of really barren sci-fi feel. Like I do want this to feel like it is a spaceport, and I know it doesn't make sense in any kind of situation in life that you'd be entering a spaceport if you're in space. It doesn't make sense. I know. Don't worry, it's not meant to make sense. But yeah, that's just what we are. So what we're doing here is just adding the actual show building to the ride. So in this episode, the entire building gets finished. We cap it off and we put in the roof. When I say finished, I mean structurally it's finished. In terms of the theming, we've still got a bit more work to do. But yeah, we get the building in. We also put in the launch. Well, we start work on the launch sequence. Obviously, this ride hasn't got an actual launch, as in a physical launch that propels the train, but in the terms of the storyline, and this is where I'm taking inspiration from Space Mountain, the lift hill is going to act as the sort of launch into space. So you'll see what we do. We make a transition from the spaceport, which is where the station is, and which is where pretty much the building from the outside is set. Up the lift hill, we had some light sequences, which took me quite a while, but you'll see that a bit later on. So I've basically staged loads of lighting up the side of the walls on the lift hill, and then staggered the lights up it. So it's in sequence. It looks like it's a trail. You'll see what I mean in the end. And then we add the slow section at the top of the lift hill before you go into the first drop. Becomes full of star cloths and just the star wall pieces to give the impression that you are just entered the space atmosphere, floating around the space before you take the plunge down into the drop. That's pretty much what we get done today. Obviously it's a very tedious story, but like I say, if it works for Disney, it works for Space Mountain, it'll work for us here in this mythical park that we are creating. And that's generally what we are doing with it. So I just want to say thank you for everybody who's getting involved in the series. As always, thank you for your input. I do take everything on board. A few people have mentioned they want to see another sci-fi dark ride in this area, utilising maybe the Robo-Arm dark ride. I can't remember what it's called in the game, but I might look into it because I've never actually used that ride before, so that is potentially something we could do, and to do a sort of smaller dark ride, so a bit like the studio tour that we did at the very start of this park, where it's just sort of a very simple layout, looking at some simple scenes. We potentially could put something in with that using more billboards than actual physical theming. But the reason why I'm reluctant, as anybody who has watched much content in this game or has played much of this game, dark rides are a pain in the arse. They take absolutely ages, especially ones where you're doing like actual themed scenes. They are a pain, which is why most of this ride is going to just be black walls. But it's something we might look into. Quite a few people have asked for it, so potentially, I would say it's not a no, it's not a yes. We will maybe look into it because I've got quite a lot of space in the sci-fi area, and to be fair, movie parks generally are more indoor dark ride based, so I think it's more than likely we will do that at some point. My mindset for it is going to be a cross between Harry Potter, obviously that's Use of the Robo Arm, and maybe like Transformers, so a very Universal Studio style ride using a lot of screens as well as physical sets. I think that's generally the angle we're going to go down. And so here, as I've mentioned before, I'm just putting in the little launch sequence. It's very basic, but again, this ride isn't going to be too in-depth. It's mainly about the coaster with a very tedious link to space, and that's what I'm going for. So there's that little launch airlock which leads through this door into the actual launch sequence, which is what I was just talking about a few minutes ago with the lift hill. And you'll see here the very slow, tedious process in a second of putting in the sequence for the lights up the lift hill. It was one of those ideas I had. I thought, oh, this will look really cool. But it took ages, absolutely ages. And it doesn't even give that much of a good effect. But, you know what, that's Planet Coaster for you. You've got to put in the time to see the sort of very basic second worth of animation that comes out of it. But that's just how it is. So I was toying around with a few of these lights, and this is what I decided upon. So like I said, these spotlights are going up the side of the lift hill. I had a little trouble saving, so just ignore this. So yeah, I spaced these out pretty much equidistant to each other all the way up the lift hill, and then I sequenced them out so it trails and follows. Well, I say follows the train. It's not actually linked to the track, but it's just a continuous loop of lights. And like I said, it was tedious. Halfway up, I got completely confused with which light I was doing, and it ruined everything, but I got there in the end. It's fine. It probably took me about 10 minutes, so I say it took ages. It's not that much in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, it turns out okay. In terms of the actual rest of the ride itself, most of it is going to just be in the dark, so most of that will probably be using the star walls to just cover up the show building. Again, just doing the top of this lift hill section you'll see in a couple of minutes took ages to get just the black walls on there, so that's going to be a job which we'll do off camera, or if I do time lapse it will be a very sped up version, like 1,000 times speed up or something, so just so you're not watching 25 minutes of black walls being plastered everywhere. And because this whole episode, to be honest, is quite tedious to watch, which is why I thought I'd do why I talk to you guys today, a bit like we do in our Hysteria Pier videos, because there's not much going on in the actual footage itself, so I thought I'd give you some commentary so you can sort of get my mindset of what we're doing. So the light sequence, you can sort of, it's not really easy to see in the time lapse, but you'll see it at the end. It just follows the train up the hill. The idea for this is the top of the lift hill, you are going to see space as you're going up the hill. So the idea for that is, it's like you're in the space station that's already in space, okay? You're going up the lift hill as like a launch, and then it's leaving the space station and entering the atmosphere of space. Does that make sense? Probably doesn't, I don't know. But this is what my plan is. So yeah, the top of the lift hill is essentially a window out of the space station into the actual space atmosphere. That's the plan we're going for. Now, obviously, it doesn't work very well with the 2D texture that is on the star cloths. So you'll see a bit later on, we do add some smoke either side of the opening to kind of disguise the sort of edge of the star cloths, really. And it kind of works. It gives a alright effect. And it's kind of what I was going for, and I added sort of a little bit of theming around the edge of it to give the impression that it's like a doorway, like a window, an opening in the side of the space station. And that's kind of what I'm going for. Again, it's very similar to Space Mountain as it is going up the hill, and I'm basing this mainly on, and I think it's the one in Magic Kingdom, where you go up the lift hill and you've got the sort of like a rocket above you, and then as you get to the top of the lift hill you are in the space well, in space, not the space. Very different to the one in Disneyland Paris, where it's like a launch up into space in a cannon. I'm not going for that angle. It's more the Magic Kingdom version. But again, it's my own storyline, it's my own take on it, it's not a copy, because ultimately this is a studios park, so this ride has to be based on a movie. Most of the stuff in this park, if you've been following the series, is based on made up movies that I've just come up with names for, as I didn't want it to be really linked to anything in the real world. I wanted it to be very fantasy. The only things in this park that are linked to actual movies are Back to the Future, and that's only because we've got the DLC in the game. But everything else in this park is its sort of its own IP, so to speak, that I've come up with. So this ride is going to be exactly the same as well. What that ride is, name for that movie is yet, I'm not sure at the moment. As a placeholder name, we've gone for Spaceport 775. That's the name of the actual spaceport where the ride station is. But I still need to link it and name it to some kind of movie. So if you've got any suggestions of what you think this ride could be called, please drop them down in the comments below. There have been a few suggestions, so thank you. Keep them coming, and I will pick one probably in the next episode, and we'll get this thing named. And like I said, mainly in the next one, it will be doing the rest of the ride's black wall, like you can see just here, to give it a space feel before it comes back into the station. As generally it's going to be quite a dark ride. There'll be little bits of theming here and there around the ride itself, but not much. Anyway guys, that's it for today's time lapse. Here are a few little glamour shots showing you what we've done today. So thank you guys ever so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give us a like down below, subscribe if you've not done so already, and if you've got any queries, questions, comments or suggestions, as always, drop those down below. And don't forget to check out the link to our Discord server. The link is down below in the description. Cheers guys, thank you ever so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!